everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the feed, everyone. I am one of the hosts here, Lisa Lopez Griggs, and this is
I am Alyssa, Video, and I'm
my beautiful co-host. How are you today, Alyssa?
I'm feeling great. This past week has been absolutely incredible, and I haven't felt this way in a very, very long time. And to be honest, let's get right into it with mental health and epilepsy because I've got a lot to say.
Of course. I was just reading some of these statistics because I think it's really, really important to set the foundation. So,
Yeah.
a lot of times we talk about on this show, Alyssa, and I was just kind of reflecting back to when we first started. And we have this amazing producer always in the background, Michael Hall. We just thank God for your life, Michael. We always want to say it on the show and just kind of acknowledge and really validate who you are and how this was really your vision. I mean, the feed is something that was such a labor of love. And you were the one that came up with this idea to do the feed. And it just so happened that Alyssa and I connected through epilepsy, even though I'm not epileptic, right? And it was just such a divine appointment and just see such God moving in this community. It's just so beautiful. And it's not like, yes. And it's not just heavily women or heavily men. It's like we have this incredible yin yang balance going on.
Yeah.
Of men that are really stepping up and sharing their journey, which is what we talked about last week.
Yeah. It's hard for them to do that.
Yeah, because there's so much shame already around epilepsy and then the stigma. Yeah. And then I was reading, Alyssa, one of the statistics that I had shared with you that with men, epilepsy, men are actually prone to more injury than women are. Because they're more prone to head injuries because of their epilepsy.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So having a conversation around that is really, really important. I know we're going to get into mental health today and epilepsy, but just for our audience, want to make sure that everybody knows if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also are on TikTok, almost approaching 1,000 on TikTok.
Oh, so yeah. Go follow us at
an amazing group going on facesofepilepsy.me. It'll take you right to our Facebook community, which is also approaching 1,000. It's so exciting, Alyssa. I can hardly stand it. And then, Alyssa, you have a contest going on right now in partnership with Love Your Lemon. So maybe you could just tell us about that really quick for everybody that wants to win a beautiful beanie.
Yeah, so basically with Love Your Melon, I am giving away free beanies. Yes, you heard that right, free beanies. All you have to do is follow us in our Facebook group, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and on any other platform that we have, Instagram and Faces of Epilepsy, you just have to go there, subscribe, follow, and share our links to as many people as you can so we can put you in our feed to win the beanies, and DM us as well. We need some sort of proof, but also join us on our live on Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because you will also be winning a beanie there as well. Guys, this was such a beautiful promotion, and like when they said yes to giving me 50 beanies to give out to you guys, it genuinely warmed my heart because Love Your Melon sees. They see how beautiful this community is. So come join us. We want you to win these free beanies. Share it with all of your friends.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. Go ahead, Mike.
Just real fast while we're talking about that, we want to shout out our very first winner. Great guy, extremely supportive, extremely important to Faces of Epilepsy, the movement, the podcast, all of it. Our very first winner. Congratulations. Won a beanie and a t-shirt. Harold Creekmore. Shout out to my man. Yeah.
He is
love you,
so
brother.
amazing.
I need a pom pom or something. I could do like an American flag. I need a pom pom. I write that down. I got to go get a pom pom.
He is so good at posting in the groups for
Right.
us and just
Yeah.
advocating. He
Mhm.
deserves it.
He really does. Yeah. And I think that right now, Curtis Lane, I think is his name. He's one of the gentlemen in Faces of Epilepsy group. And I see him also posting, commenting, sharing, inviting. And so I think, you know, maybe he'll be the next winner. We'll see, you know, unless there's somebody else that jumps in there and is like, nope, you know, I'm going to invite and share and comment and like, and just, we can tell. We need to see.
We need to see that you guys are actually advocating for us and pushing our content and posting and sharing. So it's very important. If you want to win one of those beanies, you have to put in the work.
Yes. So make sure that you get in that group and start posting and commenting, liking, subscribing, and all that good stuff. So I want to give you some statistics real quick, Alyssa, and then we're going to get into it just for our audience. Okay. There is over 50 million epileptics in the US alone. Okay. There is 1 in 26 will develop epilepsy. 1 in 10 will have a seizure at some point. With regard to how many people have epilepsy, when you think about it, and something that you could wrap your mind around, there is more people in our country with epilepsy than autism, Parkinson's, MS, cerebral palsy combined. Okay, think about that: autism, Parkinson's, MS, and cerebral palsy combined. More people still have epilepsy. So it's a very, very big community, 50 million worldwide. And we do have different days where we recognize SUDEP, or we recognize International Epilepsy Day, or Epilepsy Awareness Day, or Epilepsy Awareness Month in November, wearing the color purple, different things like that. But at the end of the day, there is still a very big piece that is missing in the epilepsy community. And it's the fact that people are 2 to 3 times more likely to experience depression that have epilepsy than the general population. This is huge because depression is one of the most common and misunderstood underdiagnosed conditions in epilepsy care. It makes me want to cry because I think about,
I'm getting emotional.
Even with my son, the mood swings and the depression that he would often find himself in. And yet people in my own family, people that were around him, couldn't understand why he just couldn't get it back together, because he was always so jovial. He was always so happy, so lighthearted, so uplifting, so inspiring, so encouraging. And I think about this and I just go, wow, this is a really big deal. What do you think about when I say that, Alyssa, that this is underdiagnosed and yet 2 to 3 times more likely in epilepsy?
So it makes me feel, honestly, so frustrated and upset, because hearing about your son and then also being able to relate to him in a certain way, because I was the same way. I was jovial. I was so happy and inspiring to so many people. All of a sudden, when I was 22, getting diagnosed with epilepsy, they put me on Keppra. It completely changed.
Yeah.
It changed the way that I lived my life. And I was depressed. Wasn't diagnosed or anything, but I was able to hold it together only for a little bit. And then the Keppra completely just threw me through a loop. And it's so important that we have to understand that when you have epilepsy, there's going to be ups and downs, and depression is a very big thing, and we were just talking about it, but it affects our independence. It affects our sense of safety and security. And when it affects those things, depression is kind of just like hits you in the face. And you're like, what is going on? Like,
Mm-hmm.
emotional health is so important to me, and not being able to actually get it together, knowing that it's a part of me and it was a part of me, was my biggest thing. And I also want to mention that epilepsy, there's not enough research
Yeah.
on it either at all. And it's frustrating even hearing about those statistics that you were just mentioning about cerebral palsy, Parkinson's, all of these things, autism, and epilepsy is extremely widespread, yet we don't have the same amount of research or money getting put into that.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder a lot.
Yeah, there's $240 million spent a year that's allocated for epilepsy research. Okay, now again, let's correlate this because this is so important, Alyssa, what you're saying. Okay, and I want the audience to understand why the information you're giving is so valuable. Okay, let's put this really out there. So think about this for the audience that's listening. $240 million a year is spent in epilepsy research. The community size in the US is 3.4 million people. Parkinson's, okay? Parkinson's. 1 million people have Parkinson's. Okay. So now you're talking about a third of the size community, but yet $250 million is spent in research for a community that is 1/3 the size of epilepsy. Okay. 110 million is spent in MS. Okay. Smaller community, understandable. Alzheimer's and dementia, 15 times more is spent in research dollars. It adds up to almost $4 billion in research spent a year on Alzheimer's and dementia. And yet that community as well is not even near the size of the epilepsy community. So this is a real societal burden. And this is why I have chills all over my body, Alyssa, right now.
I'm getting emotional.
This is why this show is so important.
So important.
This is why
we need your advocacy.
The Faces of Epilepsy, putting laws into place that will help with education, safe schools, okay, with regard to seizure safety, teachers learning about what to do when a child has a seizure, students learning, what do you do when your friend has a seizure at school? If 1 in 10 people are going to have a seizure at some point, not necessarily they are diagnosed with epilepsy, but people can have seizures. Everybody has a first-time seizure, in other words, before their diagnosis, right? My son had a first-time seizure. You had a first-time seizure. I was at, I don't know if you ever remember these things, Alyssa, at school, they call them hell camps. Maybe Mike has heard of something like this. It's with football players and drill team and cheerleading and different things. And you'd have Hell Week and you would be at high school. I had a gal that was performing at Hell Week and it was very, very hot outside. And somehow she had a seizure right in the pavement. Her name was Nikki. I'm not going to say her last name because I don't know how she would feel about that. But I was right there when she had her first seizure. Was never diagnosed, I don't believe, with epilepsy. I could ask her. I think when I even asked her years later, do you remember having a seizure? She was like, no, I don't even remember it. Not even conscious of it. But the societal burden that this is for this community is why we are championing this cause to get epilepsy more talked about and to try to bring more awareness around these really unfortunate statistics. So, I mean, I think we're starting down the right path. I mean, we're definitely, I think, Mike, this is our 17th episode. So we're trending up, which is really great. So what do you think, Alyssa?
Yeah, I think that's incredible. The more advocacy we have for this, the more we will put it out there. And listen, for everyone who's watching, if you are a chronic illness warrior, if you
Mhm,
have epilepsy or your family member has epilepsy, or you're just watching from someone out of the chronic illness community, we're not saying that all of those other chronic
mhm,
illnesses that Lisa explained and the money that's put towards them, we're not saying, "Oh, like, come on now." We're just bringing
mhm,
awareness to the fact that so many more people have epilepsy, yet
mhm.
not enough research is done.
Yeah, it's so true. And then the other thing is too, is education is such a big part with
Yeah.
regard to all this money that's spent in research, because there are also things that we can do to advocate for our own health.
Yeah.
Before the show, Mike was talking about a product called methylene blue, and it could be very helpful for mitigating seizures. Also, we've talked about on the show many times, high omega-3 diet,
Yep.
high omega-3 oils that you can put into your body that are high in polyphenols that will help get your cells more fluid and take down the inflammation in your brain, which causes you to be less prone to seizures.
Mhm.
The other thing is diet is so important.
Yeah.
Try to stay away from fast food as much as possible, because the seed oils that are in fast foods and the processed foods,
Yeah.
that can help contribute, to inflammation. And the low grade chronic inflammation that we are suffering from in our nation is the big key driver to a lot of these chronic illnesses, Alyssa. Diabetes and the things that they're talking about here, Alzheimer's and dementia. Alzheimer's and dementia is just stage 3 diabetes. When they say type 1, type 2, type 3 is Alzheimer's and dementia, because
Wow.
insulin resistance is so high that it's causing the mental inflammation and breakdown. The pancreas is having to work overtime,
Oof.
to try to, and then you couple it with what Mike was even saying before the show. A lot of the medications that epileptics are on cause side effects like
Yeah.
depression,
Yeah.
like mood swings,
Wow.
like, a lack of
Oh,
sleeplessness,
that's a big one. That's a big one.
anxiety,
Yep.
suicidal thoughts, all these things that have to play into mental health.
Yep.
So there's another big one, Alyssa, here with anxiety. I'm going to give you the statistic, and this was also a big one for my son. I want to know what your thoughts are on this one.
Of course.
20 to 30% of people with epilepsy live with an anxiety disorder, compared to roughly 7 to 10% of the general population. Fear of seizures is a public embarrassment, and unpredictability drive chronic anxiety. Now, I'm going to get emotional with this, because as being a parent
Yeah.
to my son who had epilepsy, I was constantly struggling with anxiety, because I had so much insecurity around, was my son going to be alive tomorrow? Was he going to
Ooh.
wake up the next day? And so there was so much insecurity, which put my body into survival mode, fight or flight. And I'm wondering if this anxiety piece with fight or flight and the insecurity of the embarrassment and unpredictability of having seizures, meaning, can you imagine, Alyssa, and maybe this is a good question for you with regard to anxiety. You're getting ready to go on a date. You're in your 20s. You're really excited about this date, but you're also feeling a little bit anxious because you haven't told your date that you have epilepsy. And you're anxious because you get butterflies,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
it is when you go on a first date with somebody,
Of
you
course.
get excited. And I wonder if that, anxiousness of the potential of having a seizure when you're on your first date, could be a driver, for this anxiety piece, and how many feel like they would be rejected even if they told somebody that they were interested in that they had
Wow.
epilepsy and they could be prone to having seizures.
Great question. So anxiety is a leading factor in seizures, like you just said. For me, if I'm super, super anxious, I would have to lay down. I would have to drink water, meditate. I'm very big into meditation because it's the breathing calms me down. But I actually had that happen to me before. A man stood me up on a date because I told him that I had epilepsy, and he's like, "Don't worry, I like a passenger princess." And then told me that he wasn't able to, pick me up until a later time, and then he just made me wait for longer and longer and longer, and my sister was like, "Alyssa, have some respect for yourself. Come on." And that triggered something in my brain, and I was like, "You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna have respect for myself. Screw this." Sorry about but still, it gets me so frustrated that other people, especially going on dates and men, it could work both ways, but for women, it's already anxious. You're already anxious going on a first date. Then it makes it 10 times even more having epilepsy and dealing with the fact that there is a possibility of having a seizure on that date, and then not knowing what to do. And they're probably anxious too, so you're picking up on their anxiety.
Right.
It's just a constant loop. And when it goes untreated, especially when your anxiety goes untreated, when your depression goes untreated, when your epilepsy goes untreated, it's this constant cycle, and you're just the impact of seizure is going to go up 100%. And it's very hard to deal with that and coming to terms with the fact that this is my reality now. But I want you guys to know that there is going to be somebody out there that is going to care for your chronic illness, who is going to love you for who you are. So don't stop until you find that person. If they are nervous that you have a chronic illness and they're not fully willing in the beginning to accept you for who you are, it's hard to hear this, but they're not the one. I know sometimes it can be nerve-wracking, but if they're willing to work on it, if they're willing to help you, that's all that matters.
Yeah, this is really huge, really, really huge, especially around we've only covered 2 so far, which is depression and anxiety.
Yeah, there's so much more.
There's so much more. I want to go over one more, and that is suicide. Because you mentioned the anxiety piece, and I think that could be a huge driver, not only, like you said, for seizures, but just so many things, and you handled that so beautifully on that date.
Thank you.
Because there's so many people that just would be, they call it like guilty by omission. They would just leave parts of the story out, which is just still another form of lying. And we've discussed this before on our episodes where we've talked about dating, and we've talked about it in the workplace. Should you tell your boss that you have epilepsy, or when you're applying for a job, or, should you tell somebody that you're going on a date with, that you have epilepsy? Love to hear your comments, everybody, in the chat on that. Because I always think that is really good reading. We love reading your comments on.
We do. It's a community.
And if you think that you should be forthcoming about your epilepsy with regard to your significant other or potential significant others, and also with regard to your employers, if you should tell them or not. Okay, so suicide rates are up to 3 times higher than the general population. So people with epilepsy, 3 times higher, okay, with epilepsy than the general population, which is crazy when you think about it, because the most attempted community of attempted suicide is actually young women, teenagers. I think it's between the ages of 12 to 18 or 19 is the most significant with regard to attempted suicide.
You know what? That would make sense.
Yeah. So obviously this plays a big part with regard to the depression, because when depression goes underdiagnosed, which it is, okay, it's very common with epilepsy because you kind of just deal with it. Most people in this community just deal with their epilepsy. They don't complain about. They're warriors. They're literal warriors.
Yeah.
Like, they're the
100%.
strongest community of people that I have ever seen in my life. Okay.
Yeah.
Literally, you guys are like, when I think about the strongest community I might know, it may be the Navy SEALs, but I'm going to tell you right now, Navy SEALs, you ain't got nothing on epilepsy warriors. I'm going to tell you that right now. You can come at me in the comments if you want, but I'm going to tell you right now, there's no stronger community than the epilepsy warriors. And I'm absolutely convinced.
The epilepsy community. It's seriously, Lisa, you are absolutely right about
it
that.
Is. It's because I love this community.
Waking up every day with all of these things wrapping around your mind, the fact that we have to think about all of these things, get up in the morning, go downstairs and cook ourselves breakfast, and then go outside and do anything, and like anything that we can possibly do to make sure that we're not having a seizure or make sure that we don't fall into a depression.
Yeah.
We are so strong. And
so very strong.
Yes.
So very strong. I love this community so much. So with it, so just keep in mind, everybody, as we close on this episode, and we're going to continue this talk on mental health, but when you think about just these three: depression, anxiety, and suicide, and how it relates, make sure that you just take it easy on yourself. You know, that was the word for 2026 for the epilepsy community. Like, give yourself grace. Take it easy on yourself so that you're not put into a place where you're just burdened, you know, or you're feeling like you're a burden, because you're not. These are very real statistics. Mike, what do you think about what's going on here?
I absolutely agree. I just wanted to say, because we brushed over the suicidal thing, and if you've ever, lost somebody to suicide, it is very important. And the one thing I want to encourage people, if you know someone, specifically, of course, and especially dealing with epilepsy, but just anyone on that level, it is so important to remind them that they are important to you.
I'm getting emotional.
Not they're important in the world. Not that, hey, no. If I lose you, I lose something valuable and important to me. You got to let folks know that you understand it's their decision, but it's the wrong decision if they love you. And if the only reason you're around is so I'm not sad, please let that be the reason, man. But when people are really at that edge, it is so important to communicate to them how important they are and how they are here for a reason. And while it may make sense to them, because a lot of times, very important, suicide has a stigma to it. And now it's encouraged, they're in different parts, it's messed up.
Oh yeah, that's extremely messed up.
Yeah, look at what they're doing in Canada. But anyway, it's gross. But anyway, there's a stigma, oh, you're weak if you commit suicide, if you or you're this or you're so. A lot of times it's just pain.
Yeah.
Emotional, physical, you just can't take it. It's just I don't have the ability to breathe and exist and bear this pain all at the same time. And one of these things has to give, and I have no relief for this pain. And a lot of times, once again, it's not physical necessarily. It can be deep depression. And so, sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. I just want to mention, because I'm starting to get really emotional. My dad lost his best friend to suicide. And I haven't thought about that in a really long time. And he was just so depressed. I don't know the whole background of it, because I don't even know if it's appropriate for me to say how he did it. But my dad told me, and hearing that and being on this podcast talking about suicide and then remembering that, it just brought back all of it. And if you or somebody that you know is struggling, you have to remind them that they are heard, they are safe, they are seen, and they need community. That's the biggest thing. What Mike was saying, it's pain. They're not weak for obviously suicide and doing that to themselves. It's because they don't feel a sense of community. This is what we're here for.
Yeah, when
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
I don't share this, and I know I haven't shared this with you all. When I was 21, my best friend at the time and roommate committed suicide in my car. And in the apartment, meaning I opened the apartment door and I could look down in the parking lot of our apartment complex and see my car and him. I'll never forget that sight. And
Oh
then
my
the
gosh.
EMTs rushing in and pulling the body out of my car, which I clearly didn't keep anymore. The stretcher. I remember it all. I woke up and he
Mike.
wasn't there, and there was a note that was just like sorry. And the night before, he had asked because I had a car, he didn't have a car. And he was like, "Hey man, can I borrow your car and run to the store?" I was like, "Of course you can." And there was just a note that said sorry, just scribbled out, "I'm sorry." And yeah, and then they found him in my car. So it was
Wow.
Mike, were there any signs? And I also I wanted to see if you would be willing to put in the feed a ticker across the bottom, just because this is such a sensitive subject. The national hotline for suicide.
That's a good
If we
idea.
could put that across the bottom, because the statistics in the epilepsy community are very, very high. I mean, it can go up to 25% increase in suicide rates versus the general population.
and can I
And
tell
I
you that makes
never,
total sense?
yeah,
Unfortunately, that makes total sense.
yeah. So were there any signs, because they do say that younger people are much more prone with epilepsy. And I think they were also saying it is because of the depression and the anxiety and also the medications.
Yeah.
So there's, a few different things going on there. Were there any signs to look for? I know, in other circumstances that I've heard of, people were actually, they were verbalizing it. They were saying it like they had wanting to commit suicide, like tormenting spirits. These are tormenting spirits, where people feel very, very helpless and hopeless. And that's why Alyssa's saying that this community is so, so important. And being in this community is so important because you're not alone and you are heard, and your story is important. And as Mike said, you are valuable.
100%.
And the collateral damage, if you were ever to take your own life, is you can't see it, but the collateral damage of all of your family and your friends, your siblings, your pastors, your church friends, your church leaders, your parents, your siblings, your cousins, your employers, people that actually really do care and really do love you. And it won't take long, to go in a certain direction and just even have a conversation with somebody and tell them how you are feeling. Tell them, go to someone, and don't be afraid to say, hey, you know what, I'm struggling, I want to check out. As a parent who's lost a son, a very young son, 18 years old, I wanted to see Judah have children. I wanted to see him get married. I wanted him to be a pro drummer. I wanted so many things for him. So to see such a young person not have all those things in life. I just want to encourage you today. It's easy for me to go to a dark place and check out and not want to be here at times. Believe me, very, very easy to do. As a parent who's lost a son, very easy for me to go to a dark place. But one thing that I do, even as positive, as inspiring, as encouraging in my attitude that I try to be, I want to speak to you all for a moment. With all of that said, there is still a very real enemy, and he wants to take you out, and he wants to put thoughts in your mind. But you can also have authority over that thought, but you have to talk to somebody. You have to talk to somebody. You have to turn to somebody, anybody that will listen to you, that will take you seriously, that loves you. And oftentimes it is somebody in your family. And generally it's an aunt or a cousin or an uncle. It may not be your parents, okay? Sometimes parents, okay, they're a little difficult, but you can go to an aunt, you can go to an uncle. We all have a favorite aunt or a favorite uncle that loves us so much. We all know that. We all know that. We all have a favorite cousin that we know loves us. So you can go to them and you can say, look, you know what? I'm struggling in this area. Pray for me. Love on me. Maybe write out a note, you know, for me. Hug me. But you have to open your mouth. You have
physical affection.
And let me just take some people. If you're in a situation where you have no one, literally, if you're in a situation where you don't have family, you just don't. I mean, never knew my father, don't know half of my family. The other half is scattered. If you don't have that, you have a church in your community, and say what you want. And you may not even believe in Jesus totally or at all. And that's okay. I'm here to tell you, Jesus doesn't need you to believe in him for him to be Jesus. He's still Jesus. He still saved me. He still loves me. And all of us. But the thing about that is, and not every church is going to be great. People are people. But I promise you, in most churches, even, the not great ones, there's somebody there. If you have no one, if you have absolutely no one, there are people there that care, that go there and show up there because they want to care and they're looking for you. And I'm not saying every church in the world. This is not one of those blanket statements, but I think still in this world, something we overlook is that there are great churches still for free, still with doors wide open, still with people that want to pray with you, that want to be your friend, that want to get to know you. And, so if you feel like you have nothing else, or if you feel like no one around you is really understanding or there for you, and you need real life people to talk to, you can always reach out to a local. And if you know someone that goes to a local church or is happily involved in their local church, reach out to them because they can really help. But even if you don't have anyone like that, reach out. If you're in California, reach out to Lisa. If you're in New York, New Jersey, reach out to Alyssa. You're in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, or heck, anywhere. If you're in the United States, from Hawaii to Alaska, you reach out to me because I probably know somebody in your state. So, I just wanted to remind people of that. And I want to let people know a couple of warning signs. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail, but this is so important.
No, it's
very important. This is very needed, Mike.
I also want to mention one more thing, going off of what you said about church. If you don't believe in Jesus, yes, he's always going to be there. But if you are any sort of religion other than Christian or Catholic, there are places where you can go who are going to open you. They're literally going to be so open for you. Okay. So if you're Muslim, if you are Jewish, there are places where you can go to feel seen, to feel accepted. Even if you are Muslim or Jewish and want to go to church, and whatever works for you guys, you have the support. Just reach out.
Yeah.
Good
Mike
thing
was
about
going to give
Christian churches,
the signs.
yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, good thing about
Yeah.
Christian churches is, you know, you can still eat bacon. But regardless of that, the point
I love
can't
it.
give up. I've had to give up so much for my epilepsy. I'm not giving up bacon. So anyway, it's a joke, guys.
I know.
It's a small thing to give up if you're called. But anyway, as many things. But no, there are signs. There are a couple of different. There are two kinds of suicide. There are many different, but there are two main different suicidal things to watch out for. There are those who are asking for help by communicating that they're suicidal. And then there are those that sometimes is a much harder case, and that is they don't want any help. They
Right.
are resolved to. They have made that decision. When my roommate did it, he literally put a vacuum tube from the exhaust of the car to the trunk, duct taped the trunk shut, save for one vacuum tube that went into the trunk from the exhaust hose, put the seat down because I had the kind of seats that fold down to allow, you know, room in the trunk, put the seat down and just let the car fill up with the carbon monoxide. He didn't do anything bloody or violent. He literally did that. Now, when you look at that, you see that that is someone who is resolved to doing what they're going to do, right? They clearly had a plan. He had planned this. When he asked to borrow my car, he was like, hey, man, let me see the keys. Can I borrow your car real fast? I need to run to the store. He had already planned out in his mind what he was going to do.
Wow.
So the thing is, he never said he was suicidal, not once. He was depressed.
He was depressed.
Hopeless.
Yeah.
There was no way out. There was no hope in this life. You know, I don't know what I'm gonna do, kind of thing. It was more that, and it was sad because the guy was 24. I was 21 at the time. He was 24, so he was older in that year. But to now look back and go, he was so young, so young. But he felt he had no hope and no way out.
Yeah.
And so please listen to folks. Folks who say I am suicidal, that's a blessing. Thank God. If somebody comes to you and tells you they're thinking about committing suicide, taking their life, you thank God that they're at that point. That is a workable place. They're opening up to you about feelings that they are wrestling with, and you can help them with that, or you can lead them to help with that.
Yes.
When somebody tells you it's over, they're done, they're hopeless, they're not talking to you about suicide. They're talking to you about how they're just done. That is something that you need to consider. The problem there is that it's cold. A lot of times there's not a lot of emotion in it. They're not feeling a certain way. They're resolved to a certain thing. So that is all hands on deck. Get help immediately. Ask, do you feel like checking out? Do you feel like giving up on life? Where are you at with these feelings? You've got to probe. You've got to go a little deeper. You've got to understand so you can help if you can. So yeah, we haven't ever talked about this, and I just thought it was so important.
Yeah.
Because
So
I've lived
important.
through it. I've been through it.
is.
I've struggled through these feelings. I think anybody who's been on our medications for more than a couple of years has felt utterly, hopelessly suicidal. And it's tough, man. And that's why I say reach out to God, church, synagogue, temple. Reach out to God. Reach out to people. Because there are people that will let you know how important you are. And sometimes you just need that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, including myself, that if it's you checking out forever or you taking some of my time so we can talk and I can pound into your dumb head why you're wrong about checking out and why we love you and why you're needed, I will happily say, sorry, podcast going to be late today. We'll do that. So thank you guys thank you ladies for bringing that up. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Yeah, this is a really, really, really big thing. I am so glad, Alyssa, that we talked about this today. Mike, thank you so much for sharing. This has been an amazing, amazing podcast. I think
very deep.
Very deep. And we're going to continue this discussion for sure. There's so much that we can do around this epilepsy and mental health. It's extremely important. I look forward to seeing what all of the comments are, people are saying in the groups, I can't wait to post. I'm curious to know, what people's thoughts are around this. And so please drop your thoughts in the chat, on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you see this podcast. And please, please, please feel free to connect with Alyssa, Michael, myself. We have other ambassadors of Faces of Epilepsy in Mississippi, in other
New York,
places around the nation. So as Mike said, we know people in all 50 states and even all over the world. We're trying to take Faces of Epilepsy global right now
worldwide,
and connect these communities. So yeah, there's definitely a place for you here for sure.
Yes.
We love you guys.
We do so much. You are seen.
Yes, and heard.